Okay, guys and girls, here we are. Hello, hello, history lovers. Um, we are now in a town in the south coast of New South Wales called Ulladulla. So this is going to give you a good idea of what a rural beach town is like. This is just a perfect example of a little place that has a pretty high population now, gets a lot of tourists around Christmas time. And this is the spot on the harbour for everyone to come. Coffee, restaurants, all that kind of fun stuff. Such a beautiful place. But I thought I'd just show this before we go on to the next bit for those of you that are just hanging out for the history and not for the beautiful scenery. We're going to go to Prince's Highway, which runs just straight through the town, and we're going to look at some graves that are right next to the roadside. For those of you who are curious, Ulladulla is about a half day's drive from Sydney. It's 140 miles south of Sydney, and a lot of people vacation here. It's a destination, camping, Christmas time. Remember, Christmas in Australia is summer, beaches, holiday fun, caravanning, camping, hot weather. Now here we are about a kilometre away from where we were before. This is just the south part of Ulladulla. We're headed toward Burrow Lake and Bateman's Bay. We're in an area that's part residential and part industrial. So we've got McDonald's with the golden arches. We've got a couple of restaurants. We've got a Toyota dealership. And it pretty much looks like just about any old town in New South Wales. Nothing too exciting. I do want to say that I'm so sorry about the colors. The grass looks really funky. The day it was really bright, and we're in summer, of course, here. Actually, tomorrow's the first day of autumn. Yay! But it was really bright, and I didn't check the white balance, so I had to do a little bit of magic that wasn't so magic. And so it looks like it's been burnt and then maybe regrown and then covered in moss or something like that. Anyway, it looks strange. Very sorry. Whilst we're here walking toward our destination, I thought I'd just mention again that we're on the Prince's Highway, which is a very major or main road in 3 different states, so New South Wales, Victoria and South Australia. It's about 1,900 kilometres long, or 1,200 miles. And it goes to South Australia via Sydney and Melbourne. It was gazetted as a main road in New South Wales in 1928, and even earlier in Victoria in 1913. I'm just going to take a guess that that was along the Great Ocean Road, that it was more of a main thoroughfare there because there's beautiful coastal drives in Victoria. The next town that we hit is Burrow Lake. And then we come to smaller towns like Lake Tabourie, Termeil, Banandara, and then we get to Bateman's Bay, which is quite a large destination, particularly for folks in Canberra. And the last main town that is coastal in New South Wales before it gets to the Victoria border is a little beautiful fishing ocean town called Eden. Now we've come to our destination here on the roadside, and that is this tiny little seeming family burial or cemetery. This is just sitting on the roadside. There's 3 or 4, actually there's another grave behind this that you can't see, but there's about 4 graves here, and I thought this was just possibly a little cemetery plot that used to be part of a larger farm, family house. But apparently there's actually 80 burials here, and most of it is actually under the highway. And it used to be called the Racecourse Cemetery. There's a Racecourse Creek close by, sometimes Ulladulla General Cemetery. But the graves that we have here belong to Agnes and William Walter. Agnes died in 1862 and William in 1868. They were both born in Devon, England. The headstone that we have here, which is probably the fanciest of all of them, very Victorian, is the grave of Mary Walter, and her married name was Millard. She was also born in Devon, England in 1844, and she died at the age of 39 on February 7th, 1883. She's also buried here with her daughter Anne Ridler Millard, who was born in 1867 and died in 1885. So she would have been 18 years old. Don't know how Mary passed away at 39. I don't believe it was childbirth. She probably died of one of the very common communicable diseases that just happened to be deadly, but we don't know. Mary Millard was the daughter of Agnes Walter and William Walter, and Mary was married to William Millard, and he doesn't appear to be buried here. He might have gone on and gotten remarried. The small tombstone in the middle, which is a little bit more plain, has the graves of Mary Millard, who was 7 months old. She was born and died in 1875, and her sister Helen Mary, or Ellen Millard, who was 4 years old. She was born in 1872 and died in 1876. Just before we leave Ulladulla, I wanted to mention a couple of things quickly about the symbology on these Victorian headstones. This period was extremely interesting for this kind of art form, I guess you could call it. Every symbol that was included on a tombstone had some sort of meaning that was very serious to the Victorians. As I said, they seemed to be very fascinated with death. Here on Mary's grave, you see the scroll and the hand, which were extremely common on tombstones. The scroll was a symbol of the person's life and also of time that passes. If both ends of the scroll are shown, it indicates that a life is unfolding, like a scroll or a life of uncertain length, and the past and the future are both hidden. Often they're held by a hand, which represents life being recorded by angels. At the top of Mary's tombstone, you'll see acanthus leaves as well on either side of the hand that's holding the scroll. Acanthus leaves were very, very common in funerary and civic architecture. You'll see them very commonly in this period. In the 19th century, you see them often, obviously on headstones, but also classical columns at the top of columns, the edge of friezes of buildings. They're everywhere in civic architecture, and once you start to notice these, that's pretty much all that you see. This time period was definitely informed. The art of this time period was informed by the neoclassical movement, and during the Victorian period, they loved to recreate anything classical or Greek. They love the symmetry, the simple forms. You'll see triangles and very commonly on civic buildings that were neo-Greco or neoclassical. And even tombstones is just a part of a follow-on of this whole philosophy of art. And interestingly, I learned that the advocates of this style had quite a secular philosophy and were seen as radicals and liberals, and it eventually became linked with Protestantism.